welcome everybody to another episode of Journeys to Inspire, Pathways to Leadership. My name's Lee Thomas. I'm the Regional Director for South Africa, but the founder of the Alliances and the founder of all these wild, fun channels where we're collecting authentic stories and journeys of community members that are part of the Alliances. The purpose of JTI, Pathways to Leadership, for those that are not aware up until this point, is that we are just capturing how people are getting to this leadership mantle in the wild world of corporate, and just their versions of how they've actually got there for the next generation to find affinity to it or not, in some cases. I'm joined today by Tamlynn, who's part of our UK alliances, the CISO alliances predominantly, which is headed up by James Smith, the regional director there. Tamlynn, please introduce yourself for those that are not aware.
Thanks, Lee. Hi, everyone. As Lee mentioned, I'm Tamlynn Deacon. I work at a company called HBK at the moment. Been there for about 2.5 years, but quite a varied journey to get there, as we will dig into in a bit.
In short, if you can, how have you got to this point? I know you've had an interesting journey to get to the role that you're in now and the country that you're in now, right?
Yeah, multiple countries, in fact. It's difficult to keep this short. I actually had a talk on this last week and realized that I overran by about 20 minutes. I'll try to abbreviate it a bit more. So who I am from that perspective and how I've got here is I'm very focused on people. I feel that people are the most important asset to our companies, and their own journeys are super important. The reason that this has become a fact in my life is I had a pretty rocky start growing up in South Africa. When I was 7 years old, my dad left us, and we ended up not actually having a home to live in. So my mom had to have 3 jobs just to get us by. We lived in a bit of a dodgy neighborhood for a while, and I ended up finding the church to get into a position of some sort of stability to understand where it is that I wanted to go in life, or just to not go down the wrong style. And this was a decision I made when I was 11 years old. So it wasn't something that had been born out of me making a lot of mistakes already. I was a child myself. And what I found at the church was being able to have a community of people who really cared about others. And I'm not talking about the religious aspect. It's specifically how you want to help other people become or see or do or have something better, and just to help out of the kindness of your heart. So when I was 13 years old, I was leading younger kids in township situations where they had seen horrific things in life. And it really started affecting me from that position of, wow, how privileged I am to be where I am, and to learn that lesson at such a young age has really helped drive me to become who I am today, and to want to follow that path of becoming a leader, and not necessarily knowing that that's what leadership was. So it kind of all kicked off from there. I eventually started studying theology with the church because they offered to pay for it, and I had absolutely no money myself. And on my second year of studying it, my sister had moved to England, and she just said, just come here for 3 months, just 3 months. This was back in 2004, just to see what the rest of the world is like. And I mean, it's 20 years later almost, and I'm still here. It really was quite a stark contrast for me to see how growing up in a super stressful environment, having all of these negative emotions around you, having to deal with all people's pain and suffering and very intense traumatic events that people have gone through, and I myself went through, to a country where it's safe. And I know that there's things that we think, oh my word, the knife crime and those things are increasing, but in comparison, it's like a breath of fresh air being somewhere like England. And that really gave me this good boost of thinking, right, if I could have learned all of these things when I was super young, that has molded me to become somebody who's compassionate and passionate about people, then what can I do to help others who haven't necessarily had that life experience to understand, firstly, how lucky they are, but also how they can make the best of the opportunities that are presented to them. So that's kind of where it got to, into the point of my actual career and how I got to where I am. So as I say, was theology, moved to England, worked in a restaurant for 5 years, which was basically when I finally got to be a child in my 20s, because I was an adult from the age of 7, really. And that was really good fun. But then I got a bit frustrated working the really, really long hours and trying to study microbiology, which was then my choice. CSI was big on the TV at that time, and I really loved it. So I thought forensic science, that's going to be me. And decided to go for a nice, easy 9-to-5 job. Little did I know that using your brain from 9 to 5 is actually quite taxing. And that was as an administrator of at a pensions company. Quickly worked my way up through that because I like people, as I say, and I got bored quickly. So had 3 promotions within that company that I was in. And the final one was into IT risk, which was my first moment of, okay, what is this world? I know nothing about IT. I didn't know how to use a spreadsheet. It was very amusing. I remember actually I had a post on Facebook that pops up every year reminding me that I was like, hey guys, I'm working in IT. And all of my friends from when I was a teenager just put like ha-ha-ha's. Like, no, you're not. This must be a joke. I'm like, no, really. So yeah, that was the first step. Then did a few certifications, and as everybody who knows is in the industry, once you start getting certifications, LinkedIn things start popping up and people grab you. KPMG said, come work for us for a while. So I did my stint at the Big Four. Wasn't for me because, again, people need to be the focus, and I felt while working as a consultant that numbers were the focus, and that wasn't my path. And it's great for some people, but it's not mine. So moved back into industry, and then worked at another couple of companies, heading up the security department and doing compliance side of things from that perspective. But eventually, I just got completely fed up and decided to start my own company so that I could specifically focus on people, because I didn't quite get how this couldn't work in business. If you put people first, surely the business will be successful. And I just got fed up with trying and decided to do it myself, which is when I started my own company. COVID hit, had a baby, and it was really, really difficult to keep that going, and heartbreaking from the people perspective that I had employed. And so I decided to make the move back into industry, and here I am.
Tamlynn, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your honesty and authenticity throughout this conversation, and all the narratives that's going to be cut out of this that nobody else will see. But no, amazing. Really appreciate it. Great to get to know you, and also thank you so much for what you do for the alliances in the UK. Right,
Thank you for creating it.
It doesn't go unnoticed. No, it's all good. It's all good. Thank you very much.